What's a sexual experience you thought you wanted but realized during or after that you really didn't?
Going out in public with one of those remote-controlled vibrators. The vibrating part kept shifting from where it should be while I was walking, and I was so paranoid about it slipping out and falling out my pants leg for me to enjoy how it felt.
My girlfriend and I tried that. We weren't prepared for how loud it was. Like in a crowded bar no one would notice. But in a quieter setting you can definitely hear them. Almost W2 dudes on a wild spring break trip in Florida. It was hot up until they got their condoms on and reality of what was happening hit. And then I freaked out a bit because I realized I didn't want to go further. But I don't think I even said stop. I think I just kind of froze and looked freaked out. I'll never forget the gentle reassurance of the one young man. He quickly stopped, told the other dude, "Hey man, it's off," and I wasn't shamed or made to feel stupid or anything. We actually kept partying and partied the rest of the week together and had a great time. That guy was a stand-up young man. Peak era of bro culture way before Me Too movement, and he had full awareness of consent. 20 years later and I remember him.
Had sex on the Great Wall of China, at night under the stars. Was pretty romantic until we finished and realized there were workers cleaning the wall less than 20 feet from us who definitely saw and heard us and were politely waiting for us to finish so they could do their jobs.
You fool. Now all of China knows you're here.
Filming it. Those actors in the movies deserve some respect. We looked like two sea lions jumping on top of each other. Edit. OMG, my first award. Thank you, haha. Edit 2. Wow, you guys all the awards? At least something good came out of that story, lol. I don't know if this really counts as a full-on sexual experience because it was just for fun and no one had sex, but my friends and I pooled money for a male stripper for my friend's 21st and it was awesomely terrible. Clearly the pictures he emailed me were from his glory days. He was an appalling dancer. He wouldn't stop texting me and emailing me to go to lunch for the week after. Lesson learned, don't go cheap if you must hire a stripper.
Hot wax. I thought I could take the pain cause I like other kind of stuff. However, it burned like a bitch, and ended up spilling all over my bed. 0/10.
I saw a gif of a girl effing a bedpost. I have bedposts. Tried, failed, scarred for life. Bedposts are way bigger than they seem.
Wow. Glad you made it off the knob. You need training to go after those bedposts.
Eating a girl out from behind. She had an amazing body, still does, and it was awesome. Then without saying anything, she starts pushing my face away. I am very paranoid, worried about doing anything to make my partner uncomfortable, so I just pulled a few inches away from her butt and started to ask, "Are you okay?" But then she let out a huge fart right as I was inhaling to speak. My nasal passages were open and this fart was forceful enough that I felt the hot, heavy gas hit the back of my throat and sink down. Then a few microseconds later, the smell hit me, full-on poo grade, permeating my sinuses. I started choking and gagging and dry heaved a bunch. My girlfriend was so horrified she started crying. This was like 2 months into our relationship, so she thought I was going to leave her, but as soon as the nausea wore off, I just started laughing because the situation was so funny. We bring it up all the time now and still laugh. Edit. Lol, no idea why this took off. I've told this story in like 5 different threads in Reddit where it was more relevant to the original topic and it got like 2 upvotes. Thanks for laughing with us.
Just be glad the UN inspectors haven't caught wind of this breach of the Geneva Convention.
I asked my ex to scratch my back once. She clawed the poo out of me and I was like, actually, never do that again.
Oh man, I love a good all-over scratch from someone, sexual or not. I honestly wish it was a therapeutic thing you could pay for, like a massage.
Having a strobe light in the bedroom. Yeah, that really sucked.
Facial expressions during sex is funny to me. I don't even want to imagine seeing it in flashes of a strobe light, haha.
I worked with a girl and her husband would come in all the time. We worked at a restaurant, so we were always drinking after. He told me he wanted me to F his wife while he watched. I thought it was a joke. He brought his wife over and she confirmed it. He was asking her to pick someone for a while, she picked me, so I said sure. A couple weeks pass and they invite me over. They made dinner, fed me and gave me drinks. We go over any boundaries. Basically don't come in her or on her. Okay, whatever. I'm having sex with her and everything is good. It's weird because he's just sitting there jerking off and talking to himself about how he deserves this and it hurts to see his wife with another man. Every so often he'd tell us to switch positions and he'd go back to wallowing to himself. He'd say he can't watch, but he would watch. Anyway, I was going to come, so I pulled out and stopped, and she grabbed me and finished me with her hand. I ended up coming on her stomach a bit and the dude lost it. He ran over so fast and punched me so effing hard I collapsed. I was in a daze. I was already in cum euphoria and then almost knocked unconscious within 10 seconds. She starts screaming at him, he tries to drag me out of the room, but I manage to get composed and handle myself. I'm effing naked with cum dripping out of me, lump on my head, ready to scrap. He starts yelling, I said no cum. She says it was her fault. He tells me to leave, so I get dressed real quick and head out. She calls me an hour later and apologizes. Says it won't be like that next time. LMAO next time. Nah. Guy has a nasty overhand right and was trying to drag my cummy, naked ass by the ankles like he was going to bury me. No next time. No more couples.
Truly an epic WTF type story.
This woman wanted to restrain me. I thought, why not, could be hot, she seems to know what she's doing. As soon as the handcuffs went on, I flipped the F out like a wild animal. It all surprised me. I was on a wooden chair and it got all smashed up. She unlocked me and it was instant relief. Now I know.
On the real, my BF was RPD this way. She wanted to tie him up, and he decided he didn't want it anymore, so she started beating him. Poo can go south fast. Editing this on. Sexual assault is a real issue that can happen to men and women both. After being beaten, choked, and assaulted, he walked home in the dark and told everyone he had a skating accident. A few weeks later, he attempted suicide. He maintains that he wishes he had gone to someone at the time and reached out for help, but he feels that moment has passed. Do not be afraid to talk to someone. Do not keep it alone in your heart. You can move on from it. But it's very, very hard to do alone.
Using honey. The instant it hit skin, we were both like, oh no, this is a mistake.
Sex outside. Me and my BF at the time ended up with ant bites all over our legs. We were drunk and it was dark, so we didn't realize at the time it was happening. I got it worse cause I was laying down.
Sex on the beach. Sand everywhere.
I was talking to this woman a few days that I met online. She finally told me that her husband is a cuckold. She invited me to their house. We drank and ate and eventually started to have sex. It was just too weird that I'm pounding this chick out while her husband is holding her and jacking off with the other hand. On the bright side, he did pull her hair back during the blowjob.
At least they told you beforehand and not jump out of the closet when you're about to put it in her butt.
Not me, but the person I was with. She said her fantasy was to be woken up in the middle of the night for sex. I tried it and she went totally ballistic at me for waking her up in the middle of the night. She apologized in the morning and said she still wanted me to do it. Tried again another night, same thing. I mean, she got seriously angry at me when I woke her up. Next morning she apologized again and decided her fantasy was going to have to remain a fantasy because she was just uncontrollably grumpy when actually woken in the middle of the night. Edited to add. Lots of comments here saying, you needed to wake her with super gentle foreplay and not go at her abruptly. That's exactly what I did. And to back that up, she did not complain that I had done it wrong, and believe me, she was a blunt person very capable of telling me if I had. She just realized that even with me doing it right, it wasn't going to work. Also, in response to the suggestions about doing it in the morning, it being in the middle of the night was a specific part of her fantasy. She specifically talked about wanting it to occur in pitch black dead of night in a slightly spooky, mysterious, but obviously also safe, way.
OMG. My wife. I want you to snuggle with me. Okay. I'm hot, back off. Okay. I want you to snuggle with me. Okay. I'm hot, back off. Okay.
That thing where you hang backwards off of the bed and give head. Sounded super hot to me, so we decided to give it a go. About 3 seconds in, I realized my mistake and that there was absolutely nothing sexy about his balls smacking me in the eyes. Edit, JFC. I can't believe my most awarded post on Reddit is now about me being thumped in the eyes by my husband's testicles.
Bahaha, I thought I'd enjoy this as well, and I actually did for a bit, but then my now husband started laughing and stopped thrusting. He said when he looked down at the action I looked extremely cross-eyed from that angle and it threw him off. Then I started laughing and we didn't try to continue that position.
Deep throat. I've learned that I cannot hold the vomit for that long.
In a whole ex of mine insisted he FK my head BC I was on my period after I ate a HUUUGE burrito. Proceeded to vomit all over him and me. The puking actually felt good because I ate way too much.
If you ever get the bright idea that pop rocks and a blowjob might be fun. It is not. I mean, that poo tickled my sinuses enough to make me sneeze and I sucked half of them directly into my nasal cavity before the fun ever got started. Idea was DOA. Edit, word. Edit 2. Didn't expect so much feedback and woke up to some great laughs. Sending thanks to all my fellow freaks. Y'all made my day.
Decided to try the whole consensual non-consent thing with an ex-girlfriend of mine. Didn't really work. She just kept kicking and pushing me away and I found it extremely difficult to even get to her and keep her still, so eventually we just decided, yeah, this isn't working, and did the deed normally, haha.
You need rope.
My GF was coming over for her B-day. I rigged up some neckties up on my squat rack for some complete new BSDM BC. She had said that she liked that 50 Shades movie and hey B-day spanking. When she came over I blindfolded her and then she asked if I was planning on spanking her and she burst into tears when I said yes. She didn't want anything like that apparently, so I didn't lol.
She burst into tears when she realized there would be no squatting in the squat rack.
Having my balls licked. Apparently I'm ticklish.
I had a girl suck on my balls hard. Like she was trying to suck my balls through my sack. We were 69ing and she was very into it, but at a certain point she just attacked my sack like it owed her money. It made me jump and go oh. Other than that it was great. She could start a leaf blower.
After drinking a lot of booze, my friend and I decided to bump uglies. I had never been sexually attracted to her, nor do I believe she was ever sexually attracted to me. Had an amazing drinking partner that I could crush a case of beer with, have a great time together. After the very drunk sex, it wasn't the same again and I assume we both regretted it. Which sucks because it mostly ended our friendship, which was awesome until that point. Emily, if you're out there reading this, I would still smash a case of Lucky Lager and a large pizza with you.
Ooh, where's that guy from years ago who paid a large sum of money to have a famous scat girl come to his house to poo in his mouth? That's a good story. Hint, he was so happy right up until the moment where he saw her anus give purchase to the log. He immediately realized he did not want this, but did it anyways because he paid for it and deeply regretted it. Edit, found it, link.
Greater than give purchase to the log. Using this from now on.
Getting paid for sex. As desperate for money as I was, I never did that again.
Also, paying for sex. The post-nut clarity hit like a truck that night. I have never felt so bad getting off ever.
Being slapped and choked. One time I got slapped so hard I passed out for a few seconds. I couldn't even get mad either. I, literally, asked for it. I'll stick to hair pulling, spanking, and being tied up.
After I had found out my wife cheated, we tried to have sex and for me it was such a huge turn-off.
This is really painful. Hope you are doing alright. Sucking my own DK.
Someone else described it as more like giving a blowjob than getting a blowjob.
Girls dirty talking calling me papi. If you don't have a Spanish accent please don't do that.
Oh poppycock.
Tried to mess around with a girl when I wasn't attracted to her and she was in love with me for a while in high school. I thought I could power through and do a quick fling just because I was a teenager with hormones oozing out of my eyeballs, but when it came to the deed I wasn't even hard and she gave it a try and tried giving me a blowy. We both quickly realized it wasn't for us and stopped.
When I was 19 I was wasted and this 42-year-old woman drove me home and we had sex. We listened to the Misfits and Adam Ant and then had sex again. She was an older punk rock chick who grew up in the 70s and 80s punk scene. I was a scrawny skinny 19-year-old and she was actually hot and busty. She ended up staying the night and told me the next morning that her husband would kill us both if he found out. I was freaking out for like a week. Was worried about STDs and her husband killing me. Lol. Freaked me out.
A threesome. I mean, disappointing one woman is enough. Let alone two. Well, at least they can entertain themselves without me afterwards. But jokes aside, the emotional load weighs very heavy, and the slightest mishap can upset the balance and make a participant uncomfortable. Also, the stakes are high and this can ruin relationships or leave you weirded out and feeling pooty for a while.
If I want to disappoint two people at once, I'll go out to dinner with my parents.
Taking it in the ass, tried it twice and felt like I was about to poo myself at any point.
A girl put her finger up my butt to try to do a prostate massage while blowing me. The finger did nothing for me and she got poop on her finger. We thought it was funny though.
Man, my girl did that to me once and I thought it was really hot. Fortunately, there was no poop. Secretly wish she'd do it again.
Most BDSM. Meaning ropes, choking, humiliation and multiple partners. I've nothing against it, but I was looking for the good parts like healthy and open communication, non-judgment and emotional, mental intimacy. Turns out I just want a healthy loving relationship, not to be someone's sub.
Group sex doesn't smell as good as you might think.
I've always imagined it would stink.
Threesome. Made the mistake of having a threesome with my boyfriend and another girl. She was into me but also really into him, a little too into him. Turns out they were sleeping together behind my back. Cold sweat smile. Wish I could give my poor younger naive self a hug. LMAO. It ruined threesomes for me forever. Not that it was amazing or anything, but my self-esteem couldn't take another hit like that, so I'll just avoid them altogether. Edit. Spelling. Thought I was into CNC, but then my very loving boyfriend tried it with me. Turns out I was just used to being abused by my exes and tricked myself into thinking I liked it.
Before realizing what you meant by CNC, I was very confused by how you fed a computer numerical controlled machine.
We were experimenting with getting rough in different ways and she had me slap her, and I did, and it instantly felt so absolutely gross and horrid to be hitting her. Even with consent and being egged on. Never again, I just can't.
I had some awkward dirty talk experiences with an ex. Doing the deed, she claims ownership of my cock. It was now hers, so she starts asking me to F her with her cock. So I shift from using this cock to your cock. Then I start getting really weirded out and thinking about it way too much. Whose cock is this? If I'm F-ing her with her cock, whose vag is this? Do I now have a vag? Is it my vag? Or does she have both a cock and a vag? Am I getting F-ed with her cock, or is she getting F-ed with her cock? Are we both getting F-ed by the same cock? Who's doing the F-ing? Lost my erection. Edit. Wow, thanks for my first gold ever.
Lost her erection. Edit. OMG, thanks for the awards everyone.
Slept with a really close friend. Little did I know it was her last night before she went to jail for a while.
Better than after she'd been in jail a while.
Well, she had been in jail before, a lot of heavy drinking, DWI, so on and so on. She was also in her late 40s and already a grandmother, so yeah.
A handjob from a homie.
Well, I had fun. SMH. Greater than. Thanks for the awards. Less than.
Water sports. I still think it's hot, just not on me. Turns out my hatred of being wet overrides my kink.
Choking. My BF put his hand on my neck and I had a panic attack. Kinda ruined the mood. Edit. Because this blew up, I should say that he didn't apply any pressure. Sexual choking should absolutely be talked about in advance. He just put his hand on my neck and it was very early in our relationship and I wasn't expecting it. We're married now and are not into breath play.
Being with an older married couple. I was early 20s, they were late 30s. It came with 100% more talking about their garden than I was expecting. I couldn't force myself to give a poo about gardening at the time, but now in my late 30s I'm pretty impressed. Multiple water features. Edit. Yes, they were older than me, and I mentioned that because it's relevant to the story. Once I got to be their age, I understood the appeal of the garden. Stop coming for me, elder millennials.
I'm gonna need more details about those water features.
There was a pond with fish and a fountain, a stone path, some exotic plants. It was a verdant wonderland wasted on my youth.
Reverse cowgirl, nearly broke my member. I'm a bald man. Once at a bar, a woman randomly told me that it was her fantasy to sit on a bald man's head, nestle that bald shiny dome as close to her butthole as possible, and rip a fart. She said if I'd allow her to, she'd do whatever I wanted to do, which was just basic, tie the girl up and do the bondage thing. I'm an accommodating man. I took her back to my place and allowed her to lay an egg, as she called it. Turns out, most humans, including women, have terrible smelling farts. I could not get over how bad it smelled when it was not sheathed by underwear and pants. The egg got laid, and then I went to sleep. I just could not go forward. I also got double pink eye in return.
I knew there was a reason I was still scrolling lol.
Dirty talk. I was fooling around with this girl for the first time. Things are going good when she out of nowhere starts loudly telling me to F her and she's enjoying my fat cock. It was okay, and then she ratcheted it up and throws in, "Keep effing me with your big fat Mexican cock," and I had to stop. I didn't know if I should be offended that she threw in Mexican or fat, but I couldn't power through being caught off guard. All she said was, "Too much." I replied yep, and we put our clothes on and drove back into town. High school.
Elma, I lost it at too much? Yep. Well, there was this one chick that catfished me. I got there, she had mentioned she was a bigger girl, which didn't bother me that much. She had a cute face, but when she opened the door, she was definitely over 400 pounds. I hung out with her, watched a movie. We went upstairs to her room, and it was only Hello Kitty. I'm talking wallpaper, TV, dresser, sheets, blankets, everything. We sat down on her bed, she started kissing me, and at first I wasn't planning on fooling around with her at all. But she shoved my hand down her pants, and I went with it for a little while. But then she tried to undo my pants. I told her I didn't have a rubber, and therefore didn't want to have sex. She then removed my pants and tried to sit on top. My life flashed before my eyes, and I somehow slid out from under this chick, got my pants back up and ran out of the house. I've come to terms with the sexual assault. Edit. A typo.
Had the same happen to me. Minus the Hello Kitty. It was a bunch of weird stuff in her room though. I didn't escape. I pretended to come after like 30 seconds. She's like, "We'll go again, no worries." I stalled her and waited for her to fall asleep and ran for my life. Blocked her on everything. I think I was RPD by today's standards. I tried to talk my way out of it, but she wasn't taking no for an answer, and you could just tell she was one of those that would go crazy if you physically stopped her and said F and stop lady. I thought I forgot about that night until right now. Lol.
I am sorry that happened to you, man. That's rough.
INB4, the guy who had a girl poo in his mouth and immediately regretted it but was too polite to say.
In my early 20s, I asked my girlfriend to pull on my balls during sex. She yanked. I went to the hospital next day in horrible pain. She texted me while I was there and said I was in the is also short for a bar in town called Elbow Room. She said have effing fun with that. I think it is related, but 5 years later developed testicular cancer on that side and had it removed. Then 5 years later the cancer had metastasized in my stomach to the size of 10.5 by 13.5 cm. Had 4 months of awful chemotherapy. I realized I never wanted my balls pulled. Been cancer-free since 2016. Folded hands, light skin tone.
Oh geez. I was easily convinced by my ex-boyfriend in high school that physical restraint and other aspects of BDSM were totally hot, and he was sure I would enjoy it. I was 16 and incredibly naive. So we went on a date. I assumed the conversation was when we reached that stage in our relationship, kind of flirting, and I was excited about getting to that at some point, but had no idea what I was in for. We had been on a few movie dates, and even though we had been having horny teen convos, I was expecting some making out during a cheesy rom-com. It was a week after Valentine's and we had been together all of a month. He put his hands over my eyes, and instead of walking me into a movie I would have wanted to watch, he walked me into a horror movie showing. I hate horror movies. He knew that, but he insisted I would get over it if I just gave modern horror a chance. To my misfortune, we were the only ones in the theater. As if the movie alone wasn't enough of an issue, before I even realized what was going on, he had handcuffed me to a movie theater armrest and forced me to my knees. His hand that was on my head was the size of my skull, so escaping wasn't really an option. So I cried on the floor as I choked from him forcing me to blow him, while a woman was screaming as she was murdered on screen behind me. He aggressively finished to the orchestra of screams, so I suspect that was actually his kink. Then the movie ended. He unlocked the handcuffs before the lights went up, lovingly wiped my tears and face, and proceeded to act like that entire assault was just a bit of roleplay. He actually said, "See, that wasn't so bad," as we left, but I was in too much shock to say or do anything. Once I got home I told my sisters, and we formulated a way for me to dump him so that he couldn't corner me, and I let my sisters disseminate the information about his behavior to the other high school girls. He didn't have another girlfriend until graduation, and he certainly didn't have any warm fuzzy feelings for me in the aftermath. He maintained that I misinterpreted roleplay until the very end. At the time it was all I could do to even tell anyone about it, but to this day I have the occasional murder blowjob nightmare. Though in my dreams these days the person being murdered is usually that ex of mine. Well, now that that's out there, time to go snuggle my sweet wholesome actually loving husband. I got therapy and all that jazz, and my spouse knows my history and respects my consent. He also does not enjoy horror movies.
Sex in the shower is not as fun as you might believe. Water increases friction. Tubs are uncomfortable on the knees and not quite big enough to comfortably try anything other than standing, which is precarious when the shower is running. Maybe if you had a huge tub, you could find a position that worked comfortably, but you're still gonna run into the issue with water making friction worse.
A girl I was casually dating mentioned a few times her roommate thought I was hot. Then one day she texted me saying she was open to the idea of joining us, without ever asking me if that's something I'd be okay with because she knew I wouldn't say no. The next time I'm over there things end up in bed and right away I felt gross. All of her attention was on her friend. I realized she just used me to sleep with her friend who was into me. I probably shouldn't complain, but I felt used and uncomfortable with her doing that.
Casual hookups. Like 3 times now I've downloaded Tinder and could have hooked up with someone. Once I actually went to her house and up to the bedroom and then just sorta went, or if I got a, my mum is calling, let me just answer this. Ah shoot, I gotta go, bye. And just left, with my obviously BS excuse. I used to think there was something wrong with me since all my guy friends are super into casual hookups, but I think it's just something that works for some people and not for others. Edit, oh sweet Christmas, I just opened my phone to 80 notifications and 4,000 upvotes. I'll try to reply to comments as much as I can.
Hey man, I'm right there with you. I've had a couple one-night stands and they were awkward, kind of gross, and left me feeling oddly ashamed. I say oddly because I don't have a problem with anybody else having casual hookups, live and let live, but I think some people just can't get comfortable in that situation.
I kissed a girl and I didn't like it. After that I blew my then husband with the same girl and I liked that. He enjoyed both, to the surprise of no one.
Huge DK. It was painful every time. I spent my first 2 years having sex thinking it was supposed to hurt. All you average-sized dudes out there, thank you for existing. You're my favorites. I married one, too. Edit. Of course I get gold on my DK length comment lol. Thank you. Blue heart, and of course thank you for all the other rewards as well. Edit 2. Clarifying information, my ex was 10 inches. I'm a woman. I was 14 but I am now 27, and married, with a son.
Everyone thinks it's a competition to have the biggest DK, but in reality if yours is average you are perfectly good.
Thank you for watching. We upload new videos every day, so be sure to come back for more fun. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed the video.